Welcome back. This is the third lesson recording for IM1, November 17th, 2020. So where we've left off, we're trying to find the equation of the line that passes through 8, 6 and 2, negative 3. Remember the equation has to be y is equals to mx plus b. To do that, we found the m, we need to find the m, and we need to find the y-intercept. So to find the slope first, the first thing we're going to do is find the difference in the y direction. What is the difference in the y direction? Remember that this is the x and this is the y value of the first point, and this is the x and the y value of the second point. So I could use even the x1 and y1 and x2 and y2 as my second point. So what we are doing is we're really finding the difference between the points. So y direction, this is my y point. So difference means subtract. So we're going to subtract 6 minus 3. So you get 6 minus, the first minus comes from the fact that we are finding the difference. The second minus comes from the fact that that minus 3 belongs to the point there. So it becomes 6 minus 3. And when you see two minuses together, it becomes plus. So it becomes 6 plus 3. So that becomes 9. And the difference of the x direction is 8 minus 2. So it's 6. So 9 over 6, you can simplify this by dividing the top number by 3 and the bottom number by 3, and you get 3 over 2. So we figured out what the slope is. Okay, but we're not done yet. Okay, so we figured out the slope of the equation. Now, what else do we need to find? We need to find the y-intercept. So we can plug the slope into the equation we have so far, and we get y is equal to 3 over 2x plus b. And in order to find the y-intercept, since either points, the 8, 6 and 2, negative 3, since they are on the equation of the line, that means if you plug in either of the x and y value of the either point, then it should the equation should come out as true. That way you can solve for b. Okay, but you do need to choose one. You can't choose x from one of the point, so 8, and then choose the y from the second point. You do need to choose the x and y from the one point only. So I'm going to choose 8, 6. And remember, 8 is my x value, and 6 is my y value. Okay, so that means I can plug it in into the equation now. And so where I see y, I am going to put in 6. Where I see x, I am going to put 8. And then you solve for b. B is the only variable that we do not know. Everything else we know. So then what is 3 times 8? That's 24. Divided by 2, that's 12. And so 6 is equal to 12 plus b. So we don't want b plus 12, we just want b. So that means we're going to subtract 12 from both sides, and you get b is equal to negative 6. So now that we figured out b as well as the slope, now we can put the equation together and say y is equal to 3 over 2x minus 6, because b is negative. Okay, so I have some practice problems for you to do. Okay, so you have 3 problems and you're writing the equation of the lines. Okay, so the first one is you're given a graph. Given a graph, can you figure out the slope? Can you figure out the y-intercept, the b value, and write the equation? That should be a revision. And then the second way we learned, when you're given 2 points and trying to figure out the equation, we just learned that. Remember, to find the slope, we need to find the difference in the y direction divided by difference in the x direction, and um, figure the slope out, and then figure out what y-intercept is, and then put them together. So there are 2 problems that are similar. So please do these 3 problems now. Okay, please pause the video and do them now. Okay, let me go through the answers now. Okay, so what do we have here? We have, what do we know about the y-intercept? Y-intercept is where the graph crosses the y-axis, and it is clear this is my y-intercept, and the graph is crossing the y value at which the graph is crossing is, this is 0, 1, 2, 3. This is 3, right? So what b is going to be 3. Okay, so we figured out b, but we also need to figure out slope. What is slope? To do that from the graph, we need to find 2 points that graph crosses the vertical line and the horizontal line exactly. So when I look through the graph, okay, this is no good. This is just horizontal only. This one is a good one. So I'm going to choose this point. This is no good. This is horizontal line only. This is just vertical line only. This is just a horizontal line, horizontal line. This is crossing both vertical line and the horizontal line exactly. So this is a good one. Okay. Now that we figured out the, the 2 points, now we can figure out the slope by drawing the arrow going down to the point. Okay, so to get there, we actually went down by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So rise going down is going towards the negative direction of the y. So that's going to be -5. Okay, going to the right, the x-axis is when you go this way, you're going positive direction. This is going to +2. This is going to be run is going to be 2 because it's going towards the x direction where it's going positive. So rise is -5, run is 2. So that means the slope, which we use m as a symbol, slope is always rise over run. Okay, write this down every single time. That way you are going to be able to memorize the equation. Okay, so rise is -5 and run is 2. So the slope we found to be -5 over 2. And we know the y-intercept is b is 3. Okay, so that means we figured out the slope and the y-intercept. We can put it together and the final equation is y is equal to, what is the slope? -5 over 2. And notice that I am using horizontal slope fraction line. Okay, so this is what I'm seeing some people doing. Okay, so some people are writing it as -5 comma over 2 like this, and then writing x over here. Notice that when you do that, it's unclear whether you are multiplying x to the denominator or to the multiplying to the numerator. So that is no good. I want you to get into writing the fraction, any fraction as horizontal, please, like that. And also something else I'm seeing is you're putting, a lot of students are putting x down here. That is no good because it looks like you are multiplying to the denominator. That becomes a very different equation. So can you make sure that you do not write it down here? You put it right here. Okay, you put it right here, or you could put it right next to the -5 is acceptable as well. But this way, you know that the slope is -5 over 2, and that is being multiplied to x, and the y-intercept is 3, so it's going to be +3, and so that's my final equation. Okay, next problem was finding the equation of the line going through 2 points. Okay, so remember the first point is always the x value, and the second point is the y value. This is the coordinate form, right? So when you put any number inside a parenthesis with a comma separating them, then the first value is the x value, the second value is the y value. That is the reason that if it's you're referring to a coordinate, if you just write 2 comma 4, that is not a coordinate notation. So please do not do that. So this is all right. So then now to figure out the equation of the line, remember what we need to figure out is slope, which is the m, and y-intercept, which is the b value. All right, so let's try to do that slope. How do I figure out the slope? Slope is same as the difference. So difference in the y direction. Difference in y direction and over difference in x direction. And sometimes it's it's long to write, so I am going to write delta y or change in y and change in x. Okay, so that triangle does not mean triangle. This actually is a Greek alphabet that says delta, which means change. So we're looking for difference in the y direction, and that's what I mean by delta y, difference in the y direction over difference in the x direction. Difference in the y direction, that means I need to get my y value and subtract it, the second y value. So that becomes 4 minus 1. And difference in the x is 2 minus 4. Okay, so you do need to be consistent. You can't say 4 minus 1 and then for the second one, 4 minus 2. You need to go from one point to the next point. You can certainly do 1 minus 4 over 4 minus 2, that's fine, but you do need to be consistent in the points that you're doing. Okay, so then 4 minus 1 is 3, 2 minus 4 is negative 2. So I figured out what my slope is. Now let's figure out what my y-intercept is. Okay, so y-intercept, we figured out the equation to be 3 over negative 2. So y is equal to 3, negative 3 over 2. This is same as negative 3 over 2. Okay, x plus b. That's what we have so far. We do not know what b is yet, but for y and x, we can plug in one of the points. Let's plug in the first one for, and you could have done the second one too. Okay, so if y is 4, is equal to negative 3 over 2 times x is 2 plus b. Okay, so then that becomes negative 3 times 2 is negative 6, divided by 2 is negative 3. Okay, or you could have thought of this as this cancels out. So you're left with 5 is equal to negative 3 plus b. So then we are going to add 3 to both sides. And you get b is equal to 7. So this cancels out and you're left with b is equal to 7. So this is b, not 6. That means we figured out the slope and we figured out the y-intercept. So the equation is y is equal to negative 3 over 2x plus 7. Okay, so the third problem is a similar problem. Now we need to figure out what m is. So we need to figure out what m is, the slope, and what b is, the y-intercept. So m is the slope, and slope is always the change in y value. So that's going to be delta y over change in the x value or x direction. So we're going to subtract 13 minus 10. So 13 minus, this time this is going to be minus 10 over negative 20 minus 26. So minus minus becomes plus. So 13 plus 10 is 23 divided by negative 20 minus 26 is becomes more negative, so negative 46. And can I simplify this further? 23 over 46. Hopefully you are seeing that they are double of each other. So if I divide both sides by 23, I am going to get 1 over 2. So that's negative. So I figured out what m is. Now to figure out what b is, I am going to write my equation that I have so far, negative half x plus b. And this is my x value, this is my y value, and substitute that. Okay, so I've done the work here. and where I've substituted and found the b